Good evening. It is really good to see you all here. And also welcome everybody who are watching the replay. My name is Aigi Vahing, and today we are going to dive into something deep. We will go beyond the regular self-care that we're so used to, and we will discover something that can bring you emotional relief and ease on a deeper level. This is an interactive session, so definitely use the chat. It's good to see also who have the video on. Very nice. And if you cannot stay until the end, the session is recorded, so you definitely get the replay. And in the end, I will also share a free resource with you. So stay with me until the end. And I think let's go to the main topic right away. So here is the big question with the self-care concept. Let's say you get home at night. You finish a very long day and then you say to yourself, finally, I can relax. So what do you usually do? On normal days, maybe you take a bath, read a book, maybe you have some meditation practice that you do. But what happens when your day has been especially challenging? Is that then enough? Or do you resort to something stronger? Maybe you have your favorite streaming service. Maybe you reach for a glass of wine. Maybe you eat more than normally. And still nothing so bad. It works for that evening. But what about the next morning? Are the tensions back in the next morning? And if not in the morning, then by the evening for sure. Now, we can ask, why is that? If we have so many relaxation methods, ways, healthy, unhealthy, why does it happen that we cannot get fully relaxed? And the reason is very simple. It's because relaxation as such does not release these kinds of stored emotional tensions. Relaxation can only offer change. It can distract us from that. But the tension inside us never truly leaves. It stays within us. And then we try to soothe or relax it, sometimes in some ways. And here is the self-care paradox. We meditate, we exercise, we journal, and still we can feel, in some situations, we can feel overwhelmed. Or we do these other things. We shop, we eat, maybe scroll on telephones, and still we can feel that emotional overwhelm. So see if that has happened to you as well at some point of your life, that you do something to relax, whatever it is, but the emotional tension just creeps back in. Let me know in the chat if that has happened to you as well. Would be good to hear about it. So thank you, Chetna. It has happened to you. If it has happened for others, would be great to hear from you. So this tension doesn't just disappear because we take a break. That's not enough. It's inside us. And if we don't get rid of that tension, we don't release it, it keeps building up. These are the reasons why we can sometimes feel that we slept 8 hours, but we're still tired in the morning. Or you start your day, you're already a bit tense, and then something really small happens. Tiny, tiny thing. Maybe you get a rude email, maybe you are stuck at the traffic jam, or maybe you make a small mistake at work, and then suddenly you're overwhelmed at that small thing. Emotions hit hard. And you may even wonder that, why did I react so strongly? But it's not just today's tension. It's not only the tension of that concrete day. The tension has been building up of everything, all the reactions that we have not released. So that was same with me. Seemingly, I did all the right things. I did yoga, I did meditation, I tried to cultivate healthy habits. And no matter how perfect I was or how perfect I did it, I still felt underlying emotional tension. Maybe it was anxiety, maybe it was dissatisfaction, maybe even anger. I sometimes call it like ill ease. I didn't feel light. I had this burdened kind of feeling. And then when I realized that the healthy self-care was not enough, I did turn to something stronger, like binge eating, endless streaming, watching videos, anything to escape those feelings. And it worked for the night, but it was gone in the morning. I still had the same tension, same reactions, same patterns. And there was a phase when I just told myself that maybe this is who I am. Maybe I do have a short fuse, I irritate easily, and maybe I'm too hard on myself, and maybe I just have to be okay with it. But then I found something very different from that, and something that was not just trying to cope or manage my emotional tensions, but it helped me to remove its grasp over me. So my story, really shortly, is that for the past 14 years, I have practiced these techniques that I found, and I have, for the past 7 years, I have also taught them. And as a practical consciousness teacher, I've helped now over 1,000 of people to break free from similar kind of consistent emotional patterns that create daily dissatisfaction, tension, overwhelm, even emotional pain. And today I'm going to share these tools with you. Actually, I'm going to share one of the key techniques from practical consciousness. It's not another way of coping with our tensions or reactions. It's to eliminate that emotional burden entirely at its root. And it gives you an ability to release any emotional tension in real time while you're feeling it. So people who have been in endless emotional loops, like I also was, now can sense some control over the wellness of my everyday life, and I never thought that this was possible. And today we will see how exactly it works. I'm going to share a little bit of slides right now to illustrate some points. Let's see, share screen. Okay, so today we're going to look how relaxation is not the same thing as releasing. And what does releasing mean is that we just eliminate that emotional burden instead of just managing it. And first, let's take a quick peek into our regular self-care routines to get a wider understanding of this whole concept of self-care. Think about your self-care habit. What do you do when life feels overwhelming? What is your practice? Maybe you light a candle, take a bath, maybe you go for a walk, or maybe you scroll your phone, maybe you binge watch something or eat. Just drop in the chat. What is your self-care ritual? Elif says journaling. Christine says, aha, these techniques really help. Thank you, Christine. Diego says, do some exercise. Yes, like running or some other sports to unwind, solving crossword puzzle. So when you do that, ask yourself, after doing this, do you truly feel that you're now permanently lighter, freer, and recharged? That this tension that you felt is gone and it will never come back? Or does this activity just soothe the tension for a little while until it creeps back? And if you want to share what answer you got, you're welcome. Chetna says this topic came in the right time when I was needing this direction. Thank you. I'm glad. I'm really glad that the timing is right. And see, these activities that you do they eliminate these tensions from ever repeating, or they just, at some point, they keep coming back and you need to do those things again? Yes, a little bit helping, but not permanently. Now, let me see if somebody put, okay, nobody has put any other kind of self-care methods here. So let's look at that topic also. We have actually two kinds of self-care practices. One is obvious, it's healthy, the traditional self-care. It usually has to do with relaxation, physical well-being, and temporary stress relief. They maintain our health and balance in daily life. Here are some examples of those practices. So traditional healthy self-care, there's physical care, mental, emotional care, social and lifestyle care. Physical can be a spa day or stretching or yoga, herbal tea, maybe candles, bath, some kind of rest, sleeping. Then mental, emotional care can be practicing meditation, journaling, having gratitude practice, some maybe mindfulness exercises, watching a movie, reading a book, or spending time in nature. And social and lifestyle-based self-care can have to do with meeting up with friends, having some social interactions, connections, maybe taking a day off from work to reset, to rest, or engaging in some hobbies that bring joy, practicing positive affirmations. These are healthy self-care practices. There's probably more. So when we do them consistently, these tensions are not so strong and loud anymore, but it has been my experience that they are still there. And it depends on life events. They can even become stronger at some times in life. So they shape my reactions, they shape my stress levels, my relationships, and they influence my life entirely. So although these methods are very valuable and they do contribute to well-being, often they don't address the deeper emotional patterns. Some examples. Maybe it's familiar to you too. I remember it vividly. Let's say you sit down to meditate or you go out to exercise. In order to calm down, that's why we usually do it, or we do it to maintain calm. And then later, you're in some situation and that same stress resurfaces again. Or let's say you're more of a spa person. You take a spa day and you feel relaxed, you feel great. But what happens as soon as you check your emails? If you have busy work life, what happens? If in the end of the spa day, you check your emails, there's more anxiety, maybe deadlines, maybe you remember something that you forgot. So we get these emotional tensions back again. And if these really healthy traditional self-care practices fall short, we as human beings are very, very inventive, right? And a lot of us have found the other kind of self-care. It is sometimes called maladaptive, but we can call it unhealthy self-care. And here are some examples of unhealthy self-care behaviors. Because we do use them not in order to feel bad, but in order to feel good. So that is also self-care, although it's not very useful. We tend to avoid, if there's a bigger problem, self-medication is obvious, has to do with substances. Then we can procrastinate, overwork in order to suppress some feelings. And of course, we can even suppress emotions. So these are unhealthy ways of dealing with emotional tension, and they also provide temporary relief, but very different from healthy self-care. They create bigger problems for us over time. So usually on daily basis, we are on a spectrum of self-care. That means that we switch between healthy and unhealthy practices. Maybe some of us, maybe majority of us have managed to organize our life so that we mostly practice healthy self-care practices. But when that really hot moment comes in your life, that really disturbing situation or very big challenge, we as human beings, it's even been made sure by science that we tend to very quickly turn to unhealthy habits at these more difficult times. So there's another slide. I'm sorry, there's a lot of text here, but I wanted to show you the full spectrum of it. So this is the full spectrum of self-care. We have healthy self-care, which helps to restore balance and well-being in a constructive manner. It includes all kinds of different practices, as you can read here. And then we have maladaptive self-care. It also provides temporary relief, but it can lead to unhealthy habits. And here are some examples. And when you look at these at this list here, you see that it all has to do with managing emotional distress. Here we use substances to numb anxiety or pain, emotional pain. We can eat for comfort. We can binge on literally anything digital to escape reality, even for a half an hour. And we can avoid dealing with emotions entirely. Some of us drown ourselves in the work. And we can shop or do whatever else to just feel distraction from our current emotions. So this is the spectrum of self-care. And I must say that all these examples are very familiar to me as well. I have engaged in all of them at some point of my life, both healthy and unhealthy. And maybe you can discover something familiar for yourself here also. So what is the deeper issue here? It's what is keeping those tensions stuck in ourselves is this emotional charge that is stored in us. It's nowhere else. It's inside ourselves. And what happens if we don't release it? It just keeps resurfacing, no matter how much we try to relax. And there is even a study at the Harvard conducted study on emotional suppression, where they found that unprocessed emotions increase any kinds of stress levels and can lead to chronic anxiety, fatigue, even illnesses. And from neuroscience, we know that our brain's limbic system holds on to stress signals unless we do something to interrupt the pattern. So today's meeting is all about interrupting that pattern. Now think about some situations. Let's say when you feel frustrated, really frustrated, And instead of expressing it, because we are not allowed usually to express our frustration, it does not have a good effect on people, anybody. We just swallow it down. And that frustration does not disappear. It just gets stored somewhere inside ourselves. And we do that oftenly. We suppress, we hold in emotions. And there's a really good term that says we push through stress. We're stressed, but we push through it. And over time, all of that builds up as chronic tension that can give us fatigue, even physical discomfort. So today, we are going beyond temporary self-care, and we are going to emotional releasing as solutions. It is a direct way to let go of negative emotions instead of suppressing them. And we turn to emotional releasing technique as a solution. The solution is originating from practical consciousness method by a Siddha yoga master and teacher, Ingvar Villido, who is also my teacher. Now imagine if instead of just coping with emotional tension, you can release that tension right in the moment when it arises, instantly. When you feel tension, you can release it right away without going anywhere, without trying to do something special. Wherever you are, you can do it at the meeting, you can do it at home, you can even do it if you master the technique enough, you can do it even during the quarrel, during the fight at home. So it's really portable. And this is what we will learn today. Now, before we move on to this technique, there is a small comparison table that highlights the differences between traditional self-care and this new approach that can also be called adaptive self-care. Adaptive means that it's a self-care practice that helps us in the long term. It helps to adapt and sustain long-term well-being rather than just providing temporary relief. You can see the table here. There's also a lot of information, but the important points to take with you here is on a left column, we see a lot of terms related to temporary. It's temporary, it's only in a moment, it works short term, stress may return, coping, temporary. Now, adaptive self-care, which reaches longer, uses this term like long-term emotional freedom, removing, releasing, lasting change, actively letting go. And it all results in resilience, which means this is something that you can do and you will maintain that effect. Now, let me stop the slides for a moment. We'll have some more slides later when we go to the technique. And now it's time for me to introduce you the practical consciousness emotion releasing technique that we call the freeze technique. Freeze as in stopping, freezing. This technique that I will guide you through momentarily is simple, safe, and it's effective. You don't have to force anything. You just observe and follow along. There's no struggle. You get freedom from the tension in seconds. And you don't need to manage emotions. You just remove their grip on you. And soon I'll guide you through and you can feel the difference yourself. So first, what we will do. First, we identify where in the body you feel emotional burden, where the tension keeps building up in your body. Then we release it in the moment without suppressing it. And then afterwards, you can feel lighter, clearer, and more at ease. And it happens instantly. And this method has helped a lot of people find emotional ease without needing to escape, distract, or push emotions away anymore. So I'm taking you through the steps of the technique right away, but there's some important aspects to know about emotions that we feel inside of ourselves. First of them is that emotions always involve some physical tension. And emotions may show up as all kinds of sensations in us, but fundamentally they manifest as tension or even contraction somewhere in the body, in the torso area of our body. So when we are able to notice this tension inside, this ability prepares us to release emotions. So in order to prepare for the main technique, let's do a small pre-exercise to learn to better notice and better be aware of all kinds of sensations in our body, including any tensions. Let's do the first exercise of today. Are you ready? Okay, very good. Great. I hope you can concentrate a little bit, and I hope you can sit comfortably. And I hope you're in a place where you can close your eyes. If you're not, and if you cannot do this exercise right now with us, then you will definitely get the replay and you can do it by watching the replay. But if you can concentrate right now, then sit comfortably and even close your eyes and relax. And allow your breathing to settle. Observe your breathing so that you feel that the breathing is settling. Observe your breathing. Notice how you settle, you get more concentrated. Now choose one of your foot and put your attention on your big toe. Move your big toe slowly up and down. It doesn't matter if the other toes move as well. You just stay aware of the big toe and pay attention to the sensations as your toe moves. Now, gradually move your toes slower and slower until it is hardly moving. Feel all the sensations in your toe. Notice that it's a very small movement, but you can still sense it. You can still feel it. You can still distinguish it. Reduce your movement even more. And now make the slightest movement possible. You're still moving the toe, but so slightly that you can barely feel it. Only the slightest sensation remains. And now continue sensing this subtle sensation for a minute. Keep noticing how subtle this tension is. It's important to realize that you can be aware of a very subtle movement or a very subtle tension. notice that this tension is not like stomach ache or headache or pain or emotional anxiety or heaviness or heartbreak, heartache. It's very, very subtle. Why it's important to realize that you have an ability to be aware of very, very subtle tensions is the fact that not all emotions are so strong. We have a lot of emotional reactions in ourselves that are very subtle, but completely can destroy our well-being in our daily life. This exercise helps you whenever you want to increase your ability to be more sensitive, to feel sensations in your body better, and also feel your emotions better. You can repeat this, let's call it big toe exercise. It's also from one of the practical consciousness exercises that helps to realize that your awareness, your attention, your ability to distinguish can find very subtle phenomena from inside yourselves. And you can repeat that exercise whenever you feel like you can't find an emotional feeling. Because sometimes when we start to deal with emotions, we think that they need to be so strong. In my experience, there's a lot of emotional reactions that are you don't almost even feel them, but they influence our life greatly. I give you some examples. For example, slight boredom. What does slight boredom do? When you feel slightly bored, or when you feel a little bit of dissatisfaction, or when you are a little bit disappointed, or when you know you have to do some things in life that are good for you, that are good for your family, good for other people, good for your business, good for your health, and you don't know why you don't do them. There is a very slight type of emotion that can be called resistance. The resistance emotion is, in my experience, almost always very subtle. It's not like sadness, it's not like anger, it's not like anxiety. It's very subtle, but what the effect of it is that it limits us doing some things in life. Because we don't know why we have this blockage, we have the barrier, we don't overcome this barrier, and we just don't do those things. When somebody asks us, we say, I don't know. I know I need to do them. I don't know why I don't do them. And oftenly, as we are all adults, it's not other people asking us why we don't do those things, because usually when it has to do with commitments, duties, we do them. But what about those things that you have agreed to do with yourself? These promises are easier to break because, well, if it's your wife or husband or children or your boss or your partner in business, or it's government or taxes, well, we don't have any choice. We do those things. These are our duties. These are our obligations. But when we make a deal with ourselves, we say, well, I know I need to do this. This is good for me. So now I start doing it. And then this moment comes and you're like amazed that you're not doing it. What happened? So this is how very subtle emotions can be quite harmful for our life. You don't feel them almost at all. Definitely not in a very strong manner, but they limit us and they make us do things that, if they're not directly harmful, they're also not beneficial at all. So that big toe exercise helps to understand that not all emotions, not all sensations in ourselves are strong. They can be very subtle. So definitely, please remember that exercise when you start working with emotions and you sometimes are hesitating. I feel something, but is it an emotion? It as if is, maybe it's not. Then if it's almost something, then it definitely is something. Otherwise, you don't feel anything. So emotions can be very subtle. That is the first thing that we take along with us when we start dealing with emotions, that not all emotions are strong at all. They can be very faint. Now, second important topic is that where do we feel those emotional tensions? It doesn't matter if they're subtle or stronger, but where do we feel them? Although maybe you already know from your experience, maybe not, that you can feel emotional sensations, tensions anywhere in the body. Despite of that, all emotions originate in the torso. And let me show that also on slides. Let me share the screen with you again. Okay, so when you locate attention inside of yourself, when we start doing the exercise, you mostly find them in the middle part of your body. These are the nexuses of an emotion. These are where the emotions originate. These are the centers where we usually feel them. There's 4 main centers. If you have heard or you know something about chakras, these are not chakras. Chakras are closer to the spine. These are the centers where we feel emotions. Where is their source? Where they originate? Where are the nexuses of the emotions? Let me put here a line. When we talk about feeling emotions in our body, then we usually refer to this area here, the torso area. Why I put the line here is that if we feel something here, some discomfort in a throat area, maybe jaw, maybe face, maybe neck, then that has to do with suppressed emotions. And that has a different technique. I will give you resources. I will give you sources where you can find that technique as well in the end of the webinar. But for practice purpose, let's concentrate on that area here during this webinar. Now, in an ideal state, there are no tensions inside of ourselves. That is the ideal state. That is usually when we're still small children who have a lot of energy and they don't have so many emotional tensions yet. But as we're all adults, the situation is quite different. Now, another important point. So first we learned that emotions can be also very subtle. They're not always strong. Then secondly, we find emotions inside of ourselves. These are the centers. Because we feel emotions in our body, inside of our body. And the third important point is how to connect to the emotion. How to connect to the emotion. There's another slide here. So let's say you discover a tension in your chest area. Let's say you discover a tension here. That red one is a tension, emotional tension. Now, in order to discover it, what do we have to do? We have to direct our attention to it. That's how you get contact with emotion. You direct your attention to where the feeling is and you feel it. You feel it. and you notice it. How do you notice it? Look around in your room and notice something on the opposite wall. And notice that in order to notice something in your room where you sit, you need to see it, and you're also in contact with it. Your attention is on that object. Maybe it's a door, maybe it's a lamp. You see it, and you're in contact with it. Now, these are outer objects. When we're talking about inner objects, as emotions are inner objects, they're inside ourselves, we also need to kind of look at them, but we look at them innerly with your awareness, with your attention, with your focus. You look at it innerly, you take your focus, your awareness inside of your body, and then you add one sense, which is feeling. With outer object, you use the sense of vision, you can see, but with inner object, such as emotion, in order to discover it, you need to feel it. We're using feeling to get connected with the emotion. So we use feeling and we use noticing, these two things. And there's two drawings there. One says incorrect. Incorrect means that some of us, maybe all of us, have a tendency to think about things. Our thoughts, usually we hear them, see them in our head. So when you think, your attention is on your thoughts. Let's say your thoughts are here in the head. And that is where your focus is. It's on the thoughts. But when we work with emotions, our attention needs to be inside the body. And what can frequently happen when we start working with emotion is that our focus jumps to a habitual place, to thoughts. When our attention jumps back to thoughts, we are not in contact with emotions. We are in contact with our thoughts. So that's why it's incorrect in the light of this exercise. To resort to thoughts is incorrect because we can think about emotions, sure, but we cannot feel emotions in our thoughts. We cannot feel emotions in our head. We can only feel emotions where emotions activate, and they activate in the body. So that is an important thing to remember, that you direct your focus, you direct your attention to the inside of the body. And when you lose track, when you're like, I don't know what I'm doing, or then definitely your focus has already moved to thoughts. It jumps there independently, automatically. And when you discover it, you just bring it back to the emotion. Just bring it back here. It's like training something that is very quick and very independent, like a puppy. You train your focus, your attention like a puppy. Now, I keep this slide here. So when we start doing the exercise, the technique, you can remember that you need to be in contact with emotion. So in order to achieve contact, you use two things. Your awareness is on the emotion, and you also feel it. You feel it like we feel all inner things. We can feel chills, we can feel fever, we can feel stomach ache, we can feel hunger, we can feel anything that we can feel inside our body. In order to feel that, we use our kinesthetic ability of sense. We sense it, we feel it. Like, let's do a tiny, tiny exercise. Use a very small feather that you don't have, obviously, but in your imagination, swipe with a feather across your cheek and feel the sensation from that imaginary feather. Can you feel it? Right. That is inner sensing, inner feeling, using your inner ability to feel and sense. And that same ability we use to feel emotion. Now, I'm moving here to some simple principles that underline the freeze technique. As emotions are energies, their entire nature is to remain in motion. Emotions are vitality, it's dynamics, it's movement. So when emotions are happening in our system, they move or vibrate all the time. Even when we don't feel this vibration, it can be to do with that they have a really high frequency, but all the essence or the nature of an emotion is movement. It's a dynamic phenomena. So the area where emotions move are in the torso. They move here inside the torso. Though you may feel the effect of emotions in other locations as well. You can feel it in the head, in the arms, in the legs, but the main area where we concentrate on finding them is in the torso, because that is where they originate. This area is where they originate. And if we release that emotional charge from the torso, from the center, we release it from the root. If you release it emotion from a periphery, the small influences here and there in legs, then we only release or remove that tiny influence and not the core, not the main charge. So that's why we concentrate mainly on the torso. Now, when you stop, we use the freeze technique. It has to do with stopping. When you stop an emotion's movement, even when you stop it for only a few seconds, emotion's energy level falls to 0. So the emotion no longer exists. You have extinguished it. Which means that this emotional energy stops existing in this form. It doesn't mean that it dies or something unnatural happens to it. It just means that when we as human beings have, when we're born, all of us, everybody of us has life energy. We have energy to move our body, to do the things that we do. And as children, we have a lot of free energy. But as adults, our energy has been fragmented into emotional reactions. And that is why we also feel so tired the older we get. So I know a lot of people who use this technique and they say that they have more and more energy. And that is my experience as well. Now, what we will do, what are the steps shortly? So after you identify that emotional feeling inside of you, you focus your attention fully on it, like it's in the drawing here. And then you freeze the emotions movement entirely. You use a keyword stop, And you use this stop word with intent. It's your certain intent, it's your intentions that the emotion stops. And you keep it still for 4 seconds. You keep it still for 4 seconds. And when you freeze the emotion for this period, it cancels emotion's energy, which means that this emotional charge no longer exists and it does not influence you anymore. Now, in order to work with the emotions, we need to get an emotion and how we do it. One way to start with the freeze technique is to use memory. Just to recall some event, some accident, something that happened that bothers you. We can think about something that happened that bothers you. So by purposefully recalling a memory, an emotion activates and you can stop the movement of that emotion. So let's use now the freeze technique to release an emotion that you intentionally bring up. You can close the eyes again and concentrate. I think it's easier this way for you. Focus on any event from the past. Don't take any big traumas or something really, really big that as soon as you think about it, you start crying or you get anxious. Take something from recent past where you remember you felt uncomfortable emotionally. Maybe you got aggravated, maybe you got sad, offended. Focus on the event that bothers you. Remember it more vividly. No need to go in so big that the emotion overwhelms you. What we need right now is like we show a little bit of cheese to the mouse and we want that mouse to come out. And when the mouse comes out, that's enough. So recall the events more in details, more vividly, who said what, who did what was said, what was undone or done. And notice that when you remember that event intentionally in more details, you start feeling differently. How you feel changes a little bit. Now that changed sense of feeling or being is emotion. Locate where that emotion is present in your body. It doesn't have to be as intense as when you first experienced it. You just need to feel it somewhat. Just remember that big toe exercise. If you have trouble calling up an emotion as a feeling, think of something agitating or depressing experience or memory. Maybe a disappointment in a relationship, maybe a health problem, event at school, at work. Feel the emotion, but don't get caught up in the story. If the emotion is there, you can nod. Okay. Feel the emotion and sense that tension or constriction in your body. If you sense more than one tension, go with the strongest one. Keep your attention fully on the tension once you've located it. Rest your full awareness on it. Now, with solid intent and respect, mentally say your keyword stop or freeze and direct this command downwards to the tension and keep still physically and mentally. Hold that tension stopped. Maintain the stillness for 4 seconds. Stop that tension for 4 seconds with your intent and keyword stop. Hold it still for 4 seconds, keeping your awareness constantly on it. And then let go of the hold. Be still for 5 more seconds and observe that the emotion has dissolved or left. Notice the changes. You may experience some ease, maybe relief, or you can have minimal reaction. When you're ready, open your eyes. What happened to your emotion? Let me know in the chat how you did with the emotion. What happens when you stop the emotion with your intent? Because the key word is only to have something to direct to the emotion. That key word has your intention in it, and that intention is that which does all the work. So when you stop the emotion with your intent, that emotion has no motion for as little as 4 seconds, and it disappears as if evaporating. The influence of that emotion also evaporates. Thank you. Dagmar, tension disappears. Sylvia said emotion disappeared. Chetna, very powerful and easy to release respectfully. That respectfully word is good because emotion is a natural phenomena. It has its own life, and we don't know what reasonable to do with it. That is why we respectfully stop its movement. It dissolves. It gets rid of that concrete form, which is dissatisfaction, sadness, and anxiety, and the rest, or pain. And it dissolves back into energy potential that is universal, that does not have any form of any emotional reaction. And that potential energy we can use for whatever. When we are under influence of emotions, they make us do certain kinds of things. Sadness makes us sad, anger makes us angry, dissatisfaction makes us dissatisfied. But when we have the initial state of energy, it is neutral. We can do whatever with it. We can use it to be happy. We can use it to be joyous. We can use it to be tough. You know, when somebody needs tough love in your family. We can use it to be active. We can use it to be calm. It's up to us how we use this energy and what we do with it. But with reactions, automatic reactions, we have no choice. We can suppress it, we can fight it, we can try to relax it, we can ignore it, we can express it, but we're a little bit like slaves to these emotions. Linda shares feeling of emptiness. This emptiness can also be called neutrality, and being neutral is like a clean sheet of paper. It's like clean sheet of paper. You can draw whatever on it. Joy, happiness, being active, being enthusiastic, being tough, being serious, whatever you need on any given moment in your life. So let's do it one more time. But before we do it one more time, I want to give some pointers, additional pointers for the work with emotions. The first thing is that with this technique, you don't need to give a name to the emotion. What happens when you start looking for a name? Names, labels, words, they're in our memory. Memory is in head. It has to do with our mind. So when we start looking, let's say we're in contact with emotion. Here it is. The emotion is there. You found it. You're in contact with it. By sheer feeling of it, you already know if it's negative, positive, if you need it, if you don't need it. You already know it. When we go and start looking for the name for it, we leave this place here and we go to our mind, and then we start looking for the name. And when you have left the area, it means that you don't know anything about that emotion anymore. Now you're in contact with your mind and you're looking for the name. That is, in this technique, it's unnecessary because it takes you away from the actual feeling of emotion. And in order to work with the emotion, we need to be in contact here. We need to direct our command here, wait 4 seconds, and then sense the change. And it all happens here. We need to concentrate for a few seconds in order not to leave this space. If we leave this space, we can bring awareness back here. Awareness is such a quick tool. It can move instantly outside. It can move instantly to another room. It can move instantly in your stomach, in your head, in the back of your head. It moves around very quickly. It's like quicksilver. So during this technique, we train it. We train it to be still in this area here where emotion is happening. That is the area where we concentrate. So no need to name it. You already know it if you need it or you don't need it. It's obvious. And that's enough to release the emotion. And the other important pointer is, once we do that technique, when we do the last step, we stop the emotion, we keep it stopped for 4 seconds, and then we let go of the stop. And then another tendency is to quickly jump away from the exercise and start looking for the answer again in the mind. What happened to that emotion? When your focus jumps to your thoughts, trying to find an answer here, how did I do? Did I manage? Was it successful? Then the problem with it is that the answer does not exist here. Your mind has no answer for it. So your mind can start filling in the blanks. It can start telling you, I don't know, I'm not sure, did it go? So there are no answers here. The answer is also here. The answer is the changed feeling of how you feel yourself. That has changed. So the answer is here. It's really good to remember that while doing the technique to the very last step, you stay in this area. So this is also an important thing, to keep your focus constantly on the area of emotion. Now, some other pointers are that some people, when they stop the emotion, they also stop breathing. That's fine. That's okay. You don't need to stop your breathing, but sometimes it happens automatically, and that's fine. That's not a problem. And one last pointer is that the key word, the stop, needs to always be fresh rather than automatic or rote. It needs to be fresh. You need to really be present and really use it as for the first time. Otherwise, it becomes an automatic process, and this technique does not work if it becomes automatic process. It's real contact with the emotion, really stopping it with intention, holding the stop, holding emotion still, so still that nothing moves, not even a hair. You hold it still for 4 seconds, then you release the stop, and you're still here with your awareness. You check how your feeling changed. How do you feel now? What happened to that emotion? So these steps you do for real every time you release emotion, you really do those steps. Now let's do the technique one more time. Close your eyes again, sit still. And remember a little bit of some situation that you remember you had emotions, or you had some experience there that was unpleasant. Remember that situation. Remember details. What was done, what was said, who was there, how you felt. And notice that slowly, slowly you start feeling differently, a little bit differently. That is emotion. Feel or sense the tension of emotion or constriction in your torso. Again, if you sense more than one, go with the strongest. Once you've located the tension, rest your full awareness on it. And now with intent and respect, mentally say your keyword stop or freeze and direct this command downwards to the tension, and physically and mentally keep still. Maintain the stillness of that emotion for 4 seconds. Keep it stopped for 4 seconds. And then let go of the hold. Be still for 5 more seconds and observe that the emotion has dissolved or left. Just notice the changes. It can be a relief. It can be relaxing, sigh even sometimes. Your physical body sighs. Or you can have minimal reaction, depending on the emotion. When you're ready, open your eyes. And I see here that Chetna had a question. Let me know if you still have a question. You can open your mic and ask freely.
Hi,
Okay.
very nice session, really. I was.
Chetna's question is here. Once when we release one particular emotion, does it come back? And Christine also already replied that same one will, not similar, yes. So let's say sadness. Let's say we felt sadness 1,000 times. Let's say it's, just invented number. Then when you start working with sadness emotions, you may have several similar emotions popping up. And then you need to release them one by one. It can be similar emotions for longer time for you. When I started working with this technique, I had like pain emotions in my chest area. And I think I released definitely tens, maybe even 100 or a couple hundred of those. Now, it may seem that there's a lot of work, but once you release them, they will never come back. That one single reaction that you released, that's gone forever. You may have 50 similar more, but you can release those also one after the other. So just now we used this freeze technique by recalling a situation that activated an emotion. But you can use this technique on everyday emotions as they come. Whenever you have a negative emotion in your daily life, you can release it right away with this technique. In the beginning, you need to kind of master the technique so that you do the steps in the right manner. Let me put the steps here also. This is very short description of that technique. These only 4 short steps. You bring your attention to the emotional feeling, identify the location and the size of the feeling, stop the entire feeling with the word stop, and then acknowledge the change. But we had a little bit more steps. So if you didn't write them down, maybe you can watch the replay and write them down. Especially the pointers that I shared with you and the drawings, like these are those additional pieces of knowledge that are important when you're mastering the technique. Once you mastered it, you can start using it with open eyes. You don't have to sit and be private. You can use the technique while in a shop or at work or in, well, maybe not right away in a car, but later you can also use it in a car when you're driving, not while you're still learning it. That is for advanced mode, but you can use it anywhere and at any time. So the best way to use this technique is when the emotion pops up in your daily life, you can instantly use the technique. You can even go to the different room or hallway to get a little bit of private time when you're still learning it, but eventually you can do it so that nobody even notices you're releasing emotional tensions. And the important pointers I went through. Now let's stop slide share for a moment. And now just imagine that you wake up tomorrow or maybe some other day in the future and you don't feel what you usually feel in the morning. For example, I used to feel depression in the morning. I didn't even want to get out of my bed. It took me some time to release those emotions, but imagine that you wake up in the morning and you feel light. There's no burden, no tension, no emotional weight dragging you down, no emotional heaviness. And imagine also that you can handle challenges without tension building up in your body. And you don't need to power through stress. You are not at ill ease. You are at ease in any situations. In these situations, do you need heavy distractions, unhealthy things if you feel great? Do you need unhealthy things? Of course, you can use unhealthy things for pleasure, but there's this rational ratio. It's 80-20. It's like 80% healthy things, 20% you can do unhealthy things. But when we feel emotional distress, we usually go for 20-80. 20% is healthy and 80% is unhealthy. So when the real change happens, you feel lighter, clearer, more balanced, and see if nothing changes. Let's say you learned the technique, you're not going to use it. Look at your life. A year from now, would you still be managing your tensions in the same way? And see if you would still be occasionally overwhelmed in certain situations or stuck in some kind of cycle. Unless you take action. Does the situation remain the same? What do you see? Can you tell me? If you don't take any action, how will things go on? Now, I worked now with a lot of people who were carrying years of tension and heaviness, including myself, of course. And I did use this technique massively on a lot of emotional reactions wherever I could find them. And now I feel in my body, not all the time, of course, when I'm ill or tired, or if there has been something with health, it's not so. But on most days, on normal days, I feel that my body is almost as light as when I was a child. It was definitely not the case 10 or 20 years ago when I felt very heavy, not only in sense of kilos and pounds, but also in the sense of emotional burden. There's some other transformation stories. Carl writes that I feel much calmer and have released patterns that haunted me for years, a true turning point in my life. A lady shares that I received help not only for my eating habits, but unexpectedly for my anxiety and fears as well. There's one person who says that these techniques changed her perspective on practical skills in daily life. She focused before mainly on meditation, and now she understands that practical action is also an important key to transformation. It doesn't mean that we won't do our healthy self-care routines anymore. Of course, we'll still do them, and we may even do some unhealthy self-care practices for entertainment, but we don't need to do those anymore to escape emotions. We can now just release emotions. And there's another story. I've lost 27 kilos, it's 60 pounds, and feel lighter both in my body and mind. The release techniques finally helped me overcome those persistent evening cravings that always pulled me back. And some unshakable confidence examples. I stayed completely calm in a crisis situation at work, something that would have been impossible before. My boss even said they chose me for a leadership role because I bring sense of peace and stability to the workplace. And there's another share. I've noticed a remarkable difference in my ability to remain centered even when others lose their heads. A truly valuable skill. And there's one more impact beyond personal wellness. Even my partner has noticed major improvements in me. The techniques have not just helped me, it's positively affected my relationship as well. Now, Chetna asked, and I'm glad Christine already replied, can we release emotions before going to sleep on the daily basis? It would be really good practice to go to bed in a calm manner, not aggravated manner. You get better rest. And of course, if your schedule allows, you can do it early in the morning as well. Now, let me give you some steps, what to do now for the next days. Now imagine that you use this technique whenever the tension arises. It means that you can manage your tensions in real time. And to master the technique, I offer you a challenge. For the next 7 days, use this technique daily. If you do it, you will feel lighter, calmer, more in control. And if you don't, you'll keep carrying the same tensions. Nothing bad happens, you will just have the same tensions. It's your choice. And in the beginning, you do need some quiet private time to master the technique. But when you practice it, it's better to release one emotion properly than to spend 15 or 20 minutes and not knowing what you do. The quality is better than quantity. Remember that when you release emotion, you feel slight ease or relief. Now, another emotion can switch in immediately. You feel slight relief for a second or for 2 seconds, and then a new emotion activates. So you release that again. There is no such thing as emotions return or they move from to another location. Once you release one, you feel slight relief that is gone, and you are already dealing with the next one. So keep that in mind. And so when you use those techniques once a day or twice a day, if your schedule allows, for 7 days, you can do a very short session, or you can do a longer session. You can release just one emotion, or you can do a session of 5, 10, 15 minutes. When I started, I did every morning, I did 20 minutes before I went to work. But if you have small children, obviously you cannot do it in the morning. But parents with children, what I've heard is they're doing it when the family thinks that they have not woke up yet, or they are already asleep. So they do it in bed if you have small children. Now, think what you want to change in your life. Maybe you have some habits. Maybe you have some reactional habits. Maybe you offend too easily, or you get angry too easily, or you have excess eating, or you procrastinate, or you doubt in yourself, you have insecurities. Think what you want to change in your life. Write that down for you right now. And you can start from this topic. This can be your topic of change for 7 days. You can even share it with me in a chat if you want to, but choose a topic that you want to change in your life. And you can work with that for 7 days, but let me tell you, emotions will surprise you. You can have emotions that have to do with other topics as well. So choose whatever is more current for you in your life right now. People who have emotional eating or some other emotional habit problems, there's a good saying, it's not what you eat, but it's about what is eating you. And what is eating you is usually some sort of emotional distress. So today, we experienced emotional release firsthand. But in addition to emotions, we also have mental burdens. We have our ever loud mind, constantly thinking, chatting, talking in our head. We have the thinking process. Now, let me ask you, can you, by thinking, can you activate emotions when you start thinking about something? Let me know. And meanwhile, yes. Yeah, that heaviness that you feel in the morning. That is usually when this heaviness, we sometimes call that we have no energy. But actually, we have a lot of heavy energy. And that heavy energy can also be released. Now, to talk about thoughts and mind, let's say you want to go to bed, you want to wind down, and you start thinking about work. And just by thinking about work or any other tomorrow's activities, when you think about those things, you start getting active emotions about those things. And these active emotions won't allow you to fall asleep. So in the next session, I will have another free webinar. I will teach you another key technique from practical consciousness. It's how to instantly, momentarily quiet your mind so that you can fall asleep quickly. This webinar will be maybe in a month. Meanwhile, you have enough time to practice emotional release. And I will send you the details about the next webinar in email. But meanwhile, I will send you the replay tomorrow, and I will keep sending you some emotional pointers of emotional release so that you can keep on track and keep practicing the technique in the right manner, and also to help you to start applying this emotional release now. You can check out the book that these techniques originate from. There are many more techniques in that book. We only went through one emotional release techniques, but there are several more. And this book is from my own mentor, my teacher, Ingvar Bilito. You can see it in chat. And additionally, you can also download free audio tracks with guided emotional release that originate from this book also, but they are like you can listen to them. These are like guided exercises of releasing emotions. And we will meet next time. If you're interested, I will send you information. We can also work with thoughts, how to quiet the mind. And now, if you need some personal guidance or you have some more questions, I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have about today's topic or this practice in general. You can open your mic, you can ask with voice, or you can write me in the chat. It's an open mic. Meanwhile, I will share one more slide with you. I'm committed to help you on this journey. So if you will have any questions during your practice, sorry, I need to do a little switch here. If you have any question during your practice, you can just contact me. The quickest way is probably on Messenger, Facebook, Instagram. You can also email me. You will get my email tomorrow. I'm happy to help with this technique if you need it. And from my side, I thank you. I thank everybody from attending tonight. If this topic resonated with you, you can invite someone else to the next session. But before you go, tell me in the chat, what is your biggest takeaway from today? What is the biggest thing that you received from this meeting today? Would be really fun to know, because it's surprising what kind of insights people have, what spoke to them the most. And if you don't have any right now, or you're too modest to share or say, I hope that this technique worked for you and you will start using it. And you definitely will use it for 7 days at least to see the change. And the more you release, the quicker the results come. That's for sure. Chetna says, reminder to heal us deeply. Diego says, thank you. Thank you, Diego, for coming and joining. And Christine says, I don't have to live with these emotions. I can live free. Thank you for sharing these experiences, and thank you for practicing. Yes, mind is not the king. Thank you, Sylvia. Thank you for sharing. And we will meet soon, probably in 1 month. Meanwhile, I will send you helpful pointers and tips in email about the emotion release technique, and we will tackle the mind next time. Until then, be well, have a nice evening, and I will see you soon. Thank you so much.